You have two of the top players in the league at their positions.
If they don't make the playoffs this season, I mean, that's definitely disappointing. Come on, baby. Let's go.
As the weeks have been going by recently, they're looking worse and worse. Welcome back to Around the Block Volleyball. Today we're diving into the biggest storylines for each of the three leagues in USA Volleyball. So we're going to cover the PVF, League One Volleyball, and NCAA Men's. So let's dive into it.
All right, first off, we're going to talk about the PVF. Here are three storylines that will define the second half of the PVF. So first, we're going to talk about, will Orlando be able to stay on top, dominating with 8 wins in a row? And then also, will Brittany Abercrombie be able to become the MVP of the season or become the MVP of the league?
First, talk about Brittany Abercrombie. Obviously, she's having a super dominant season. I think right now she's averaging 4.62 kills per set, which is insane. And then it's on 31.1% efficiency, which for the PVF is super good. She's still like around top 10, top 15 in the league in efficiency, which is crazy for the amount of volume she's getting.
Yeah, I mean, even when you just look at the stats like along the league, she's actually up there with the hitting percentage and the efficiency compared to middles.
Yeah, it's kind of nasty.
It's disgusting what she's able to do, where, I mean, she's just been that dominant, and she's been able to carry.
Yeah, and I think she's leading the leagues in kills by far. She has 245 kills, and then the next person is Leah Edmond with 201. So she's leading by 44 kills total, which is almost unheard of in this league. It's only the second season, but she's on pace to absolutely demolish the kill record from last season, which is crazy.
Yeah, and honestly, she just won Player of the Week, and I feel like that to me is something that can help cement her as maybe getting the MVP this season, just because she had a game where she got 24 kills in a 3-set match is just absurd.
Yeah, winning a whole set in 3 sets is crazy.
And then she ended the third set with 11 kills in one set. I mean, that's
half the set pretty much.
You won your team half of your points. It's pretty crazy what she's able to do.
Yeah, I mean, she's basically not carrying Orlando, but she is the outstanding part of their offense. So
for sure.
You got to take that into account, especially because they're on this 8-game win streak and they're basically on top of the league. I think they've beaten pretty much every team in the league so far. So
yeah, they beat every team besides San Diego.
Yes, during the win streak, but to start off the season, they beat San Diego twice already. So
yeah,
it's all good. They've beaten every single team in the league so far.
Yeah,
and they looked good doing it. Aside from their early like skid at the beginning of the season, probably to like mesh, they're looking great right now.
Yeah, I mean, a rough start, but then, I mean, I feel like they've just been improving, and I think they've just been building up momentum.
Yeah, it is crazy because the other top teams, they've beaten Omaha twice, they've beaten Atlanta twice, and it's super dominant.
Yeah.
Like, I think during this 8-game win streak, they've only dropped 4 sets, and 2 of them were just recently to Atlanta, so they won on a 7-game win streak and lost only 2 sets. So that just proves their dominance because they were getting 3-0s left and right.
Yeah. Yeah, I think just with a balanced team, obviously you have a go-to hitter.
Yep.
And she's just been able to dominate on that side. So there's not really much that other teams have been able to do to stop them so far.
Yeah, and I think something that's really setting Orlando apart is that because they do have this one true dominant right side, it's kind of placing them in this like style of volleyball that we're seeing in League One and just in general across the world, where you want the dependable right side because that's just basically the meta right now. And I think in the PVF, they're basically the only ones who have it to this level.
Yeah, I feel like when you look at any of the top teams in the world, and this could be even looking at internationally and for countries even, when you're playing in the Olympics, these best teams in the world have a dominant right side.
Yep.
Obviously, they're not always going to be dominant, but they have a right side that is a go-to hitter. They're going to be able to put balls down, and Orlando is one of the teams that has one.
Yeah, and I think they're the only ones who have one to this level.
For sure,
especially.
Yeah.
So I think they're just playing on the kind of like they're playing on the highest level of volleyball right now, or the meta level of volleyball, and other teams just aren't quite there yet.
Yeah. It doesn't feel like other teams can keep up so far. So definitely Orlando's been continuing that hot streak.
Yeah. Obviously, I don't think that they're going to finish out the season completely undefeated, but I'm pretty sure we can look forward to the rest of the season being a little bit more dominant. Obviously, of course, barring any injuries,
For sure.
but I think they will look at like the top team for pretty much the rest of the PVF season. So that's my prediction.
Yeah, I think so for sure. I think that Orlando, I could see them honestly, maybe losing one or two more games and that's it, and being able to dominate their way through the rest of the season just because they do look like they're a step ahead of their competition. So
yeah, I think especially if you're looking at the PVF from a neutral point of view, this would be the team to kind of look out for because they're probably the most fun. They're probably the most playing to the level of like international standards. So if there is any team that you just want to keep an eye on, watching a little bit more casually, I'd definitely pick Orlando. So you can move on.
All right, and then next we have, where does Indy Ignite stand as a contender?
Yeah, this is a super interesting one because they are the expansion team for this season. So normally with any other league, you kind of don't expect the expansion teams to be doing so well. So it's super interesting to see them in like the top 3, top 4 type range. So I think it's super fun. The fans are really, really turning out for Indy.
God.
It's crazy. So I think Indy is like another team that you need to kind of watch, especially if you enjoy kind of the crowd and like people showing up to games. I think they've had the best turnout for the PVF in general.
Yeah, I think whenever you watch any of those games, obviously we haven't been there in person, but when you watch them on TV or online, that might be the most electric arena that they play in. And it's crazy that this is their first time in the league while all these other teams have been in there, but they're the one that is bringing all the attention and like a lot of energy whenever you watch it. And it's really fun to see.
Yeah. I think one thing especially of note is that Caitlin Clark turned up to one of their games early on in the season. That's super cool. That is also bringing the attention that kind of volleyball wants. So
Yeah,
love to see it.
Game recognizes game for
Yeah.
sure. And I don't know if people, maybe watch him, but he's huge. Pat McAfee, obviously he's in Indianapolis as well. And even he talked about it on his show. And his show pulls a lot of traffic, a lot of people that would see that. And he talked about the Indy Ignite for a whole segment, which is just really awesome to see. That maybe you get people that don't regularly watch volleyball, especially pro volleyball because it's new right now.
Yeah.
Maybe you bring in a lot more viewers.
So they're definitely the team that you kind of want to keep an eye on for the second half of the season. I think they have a lot of really good players, a lot of electric players. It just, I would say that they're not fully matching up well to the top teams, but you would definitely keep them in the top half, and I would expect them to make the playoffs, if not try and push for that 1-2 spot.
Yeah, I think that they have the ability to do that just because of, since this is their first season together, I think they're only going to build more chemistry.
Yeah.
Where these other teams, they've been together for a little bit longer, and you kind of have to figure your way out through it. And they've only played like 10 matches. It's not a lot of matches that they played so far. So I think with time, I think they might be able to get even better.
Yeah. So we are truly like about halfway into the season, and Indy has looked great. I think they have the best setter, so that's super cool to watch, like look out for and continue to watch. But they are not showing up against the top teams. They got 0-3'd by Omaha 2 times already, and I think they beat Orlando once, but that was during Orlando's like early skid.
Yeah.
And then they also again lost to Orlando, so they're not matching up well to the top 2 teams, and it's going to be hard to see how they're going to match up in the end.
Yeah, I think if you had to put these teams in tiers of contention, I'd definitely say that they're a tier below.
Yeah.
But you have to give them the respect that they do have a puncher's chance. They have a chance to be able to go in there on one match on whatever day, and that they could still go out there and win it, for sure.
Yeah. I don't think that they're a team to ever look down on, so definitely one of the must-watch teams of the league.
Yeah. All right, and finally for the PVF, will Atlanta be able to catch up? They should be good, but they have a great amount of players. but it just really hasn't been clicking yet so far.
Yeah, looking at the roster, they should be one of the top teams. I mean, they have Leah Edmond, the reigning MVP. They have the best libero in the league according to like most people, almost fully like consensus. They have the best libero, Morgan Hens.
Yeah.
Like you have two of the top players in the league. You have two of the top players in the league at their positions. You can't be hanging around 4 or 5. You really want to be up there 1, 2.
And not to mention, they have a middle in Corey Lewis that has been super efficient. She's been very good for them. Now it's just, can they put together wins?
Yeah, it's super weird. I mean, I would say that they are pushing themselves into that top 4. I think Vegas is looking a little bit rougher. They had a very great start to the season, but it's looking a little tough for them. And I think Atlanta can push for that 4 spot, but when you have such a stacked roster, I mean, they also have Merritt Beeson, who is supposed to be like the top recruit, the number 1 pick.
Yeah.
So when you have such a good roster, you really want to see them pushing that number 1, number 2 seed, but it really doesn't look like it right now. They're 0-4 versus the top 2 seeds.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to kind of say for them at this point, it has been disappointing.
Yeah.
I think just because of, again, like the talent that they have, they shouldn't be down this far in the standings, but we'll have to see. I think the good thing is when you do have a lot of great veteran players, that you should be able to, kind of pull it out of the mud, and you're going to be able to still climb up and maybe get into the obviously they should be able to in the playoffs. If they don't make the playoffs this season, I mean, that's definitely disappointing.
Yeah, that would be probably if they don't make the playoffs this season, that will be the most disappointing story of the PVF.
Yeah. I don't think they can be happy with their season if they don't make it.
Yeah.
Now, they should still have their eyes on trying to win the whole thing, though, just because of the team. And obviously, they haven't had the greatest season, but with the talent that they have, you really have to think that they should be up there.
Yeah, I don't think there's any excuse for them to not make playoffs, and there's no excuse that we shouldn't be considering them a contender. And right now, we're not.
Yeah, they're not there.
Yeah.
But again, we're only halfway through the season. You might be able to see them climb up even more, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I think they did just play very close game against Orlando. They did have that 3-2 loss, but you still want to see them play out wins in those types of games.
Yeah.
So I think that covers most of it for Atlanta. The one last little storyline to just briefly touch on in the PVF, I think would be kind of Vegas's place in the league right now. They did start off really strong. They were looking like the top team. They grabbed the number 1 spot for a short period of time. And right now you're seeing them slip a little bit. I think they're ranked 4th right now, but it's a super weird 4th where it's because of their win-loss, where they've been winning they won a lot of 5-set matches. So they have wins, but in terms of points in the 3-0, 3-1, that type of point distribution, they are below Atlanta, which is a super weird standings thing. I think they directly use that. They use match win-loss first to determine playoffs, but then they'll move to points afterwards.
Yeah.
So it's super weird.
Yeah, hopefully it doesn't come down to that. Just for the sake of everyone else to understand it, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, I mean, I think just seeing where Vegas ends up, because they did look like a really strong team, and they're in a very cool market being in Vegas.
For sure.
Fun to watch.
Yeah.
So they're another team to keep your eye on moving up and down in the standings. They're in a weird spot right now.
Yeah, we'll have to see if they're going to be able to hold on. I mean, they're like, Atlanta is a team that's creeping up, and if you're not improving and you're not handling these teams that you should definitely be beating, and then you just keep on losing to the teams that are top tier contenders, then you might see Vegas slip even more. So we'll have to see.
Yep, I think that Atlanta versus Vegas fighting for that 4 or 5 spot will be a very interesting thing to go on as the season goes. So with that for the PVF, it's time to move on to League One and their storylines. League One's first season is entering its second half. Here are 3 storylines for you to follow to keep it spicy. The first one, I think, is the most important one coming off of last week, is Madison coming back into the fray?
Come on, baby. Let's go. This is finally what I've been waiting for, is Madison to really look like they honestly are trying to win. Yeah. I feel like a lot of times I watch them, it looks so... It just doesn't look that motivating. They don't look like they're really out there, and they're playing... I won't say playing tough, because I don't think that's right to say, but it just looks like they've been getting outclassed recently.
Yeah.
But this past week, I mean...
2-0.
2-0, you win against... You sweep Austin, and you beat Omaha in 4. I think those are just really good wins to just get out. And honestly, just snapping that loss streak is huge for them.
Yeah, they've been on a major loss streak before this. The last time they won was in the second week of League One.
Yeah.
So it wasn't looking great for them, but I think this also is like kind of coinciding with Annie Drews Schumacher getting healthier. She's playing back row, front row, both now. I think before she was sitting out for back row, they were switching her out. Now that she's playing both, her arm swing is back. She is looking good, and it's really elevating Madison like back up there.
Yeah, I mean, everyone knew that Annie Drews was one of the best right sides. You could even argue in the world, just because of how strong the U.S. is. And, you know, it's always been her and Jordan Thompson kind of competing. It's been kind of weird recently, like with their lineups in the U.S. Who do you have as your top right side? But obviously Jordan Thompson has gone out there in this league and has shown that she should be the top one. But Annie Schumacher has been climbing up lately as she's gotten more healthy, and it looks like she's been getting more comfortable with the offense. And she's been taking some really big rips, and she's been able to help this offense.
Yeah, I think you can tell that she's really getting healthy now, because honestly, Madison was coming into the season, they were expected to be one of the top teams in the league. So to see them at the bottom of the league for so long, to go winless for like 4, 5, 6 weeks.
Yeah.
It was super weird. I think everyone was kind of in shock at how they were playing, how not great they looked. But they're really putting it together. As of seeing last week, they're looking strong. They're trying to figuring out their defense pretty much. And I think the lineup is getting more and more secure, so things are looking better for them.
Yeah, I think the move to Malika Medved as the libero, I think has helped their defense a lot.
Yeah, I'll say that I think that really helped their serve receive in particular. I think Wang Ximin was like a pretty good defensive libero, but on the serve receive especially, she was not taking like proper control of the court, and the way that Madison was playing before, they kind of needed her to cover for some of the outsides where it's like, whether it be Chassé or Sarah Franklin, it's like you kind of need to cover some of their space, and I don't think she was able to do that. And Medved is kind of stepping up and taking that serve receive role very, very well.
Yeah, and defensively, she's been holding up. I think that's been one big thing that's been helping out Madison and being able to compete. But then obviously you have to say the offense has been a lot better. I feel that you knew that Carlini can set the heck out of the ball, right? She's going to give great sets to her hitters. Now it's just, can the hitters put the ball down?
Yep.
Obviously with Annie Drews healthy, she has been able to put the ball down, and there hasn't been an issue there. But to me, honestly, it's been pretty surprising that they've been getting the middles a little bit more involved, and it's been looking good.
I think that helped a lot, because even if Annie Drews was healthy, if they were running no middles, they can sit on Annie Drews a little bit more. The outsides haven't been the greatest for Madison, even though it's looking more up, but they haven't been the greatest. So it's really good to have the middles a lot more involved.
Yeah, I think the middle play from Madison might have been the lowest in the league for a while in that skid.
Yeah.
And I think now Anna Hall has been getting a little bit more comfortable with the sets and with the offense. I think the offense has honestly been able to build a little bit more, and it's just been supported up now with the middle play.
Yeah, I think that also comes back to the passing getting figured out amongst the team.
For sure.
It's just making them able to run the middles a lot more, and any out-of-system balls are pretty much getting set to Annie Schumacher, and she's still able to get kills with them, so it is crazy.
And if I had an ability to create a player of the week, I would give mine to Chassé. I feel that the lineup with the outsides has been really weird.
Yeah.
I feel like they've been struggling with figuring out who their best outsides have been. Obviously, they started with the season with Chassé and Sarah Franklin, but they've been moving them around a bunch. They've had Santana that she came in, and she ended up going down, and now you had to figure out who else you're going to put in there.
Yeah.
Jennifer Janiska has been really good defensively for them.
Janiska has been pretty much their defensive outside.
For sure,
she is almost like a second libero for them. So
Yeah.
it really, really has been good to see her on the court full time.
Yeah, but I feel that Chaussee has always been able to provide energy for this team with her play. Obviously, I think her efficiency is always going to be kind of rocky just because of the errors that she has.
Yeah, it's the nature of her play style, kind of.
But she's going for kills. So she's going to have kills or she's going to have errors. And I feel like in the Omaha game was definitely one where you saw her, she didn't start, but then once they threw her in, she's going out there, she's swinging. She's trying to find the floor. And she was able to score a bunch of points. She brought some energy to them. And even in the Austin game, I thought she still had a pretty decent game where she still dropped, I think it was double-digit kills.
Yeah, it's always going to be the efficiency that ends up being the problem just because the errors happen and lower it. But she gets kills, and I think when she gets those kills, it really brings energy to the whole team, and I think it's kind of infectious. So that's kind of what Madison has needed. And before, I think maybe when she was in, it could have been a struggle because maybe her passing was a little bit weaker, but I think they're figuring out the coverage. They're able to cover for her passing-wise a lot more, and she's just coming in. She's able to swing, and it looked great.
Yeah, and she's been stepping up passing-wise because actually you saw her, at least in my opinion, when you saw her in the beginning of the season, she's actually one of the best passing outsides, which I was surprised with. But then you kind of saw it towards the middle of the season where you could see her definitely struggling, and that definitely hurt. But she's been picking it up. She's been decent in serve receive, so I think that's kind of the most you can ask for from an outside like that. And I think the other big thing that we have to talk about is just with Sarah Franklin. It's kind of difficult to see what's going on here.
It's weird that it feels like from the two games, the two wins of theirs that we just saw, it doesn't feel like Sarah Franklin has a place on their court right now.
Yeah.
So it's super interesting because if you look at the stats, honestly, she is still their top kill getter. Obviously, she was taking a step back when Annie Schumacher has gotten healthy, but in terms of outsides, she was the one really getting kills for the team. She had been carrying the offensive load for the first 7-8 weeks of this entire season. So it's super weird to see her go to the bench right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to think about what's going on in Matt Furinger's head now and what you can really do for a lineup, because obviously you could say, let's run out Chaussee and Franklin again and just see what happens. But it's kind of hard to say when you just won 2 games. And one of them, I don't even know she played that much. So it's how can you figure out a team that...
Well, Sarah Franklin got subbed out for Chaussee, and then that's when I feel like you could see the stark difference in how the team looked.
Yeah, I think it's, how can you find a way where if you do want them both in, because they're both really good outsides, but it's how can you make it work with the defense and the passing? And, honestly, sometimes you can't have a good game from both of them. It feels like you're getting one good game from Sarah Franklin, but Chaussee is either not playing or she's not doing too much. She's not doing too well. And then sometimes you have it the opposite, where Chaussee is doing really well and Sarah Franklin, she gets subbed out. So that's kind of just one thing you have to figure out here for Madison going forward.
Yeah, I think that will be, obviously, in terms of Madison coming back, that's a big, big storyline. But the other storyline is seeing what's going to happen to either Sarah Franklin or Chaussee or both of them, because I don't know how much we're going to see both of them on the court at the same time anymore.
Yeah, we're going to have to see what he's thinking.
Yeah. So
if you can even sustain that, to have both of them out there, it's going to be tough.
Yeah, it's a super weird look. Honestly, I don't think anyone can predict what's going to happen anymore.
Yeah.
So we'll have to wait and see, and that's why it's a great storyline. Our next storyline to talk about is Houston and how they are still looking dominant when all of their starters are playing. I mean, I think coming into the season, people expected them to be good, obviously, but no one expected them to be top of the league, winning the Classic, just being what looks like the most unstoppable team when they have their full roster playing.
Yeah. I think they definitely have one of the best all-around teams, for sure, where offense is really good, defense is still solid, and they're a pretty solid serving team as well. So it is difficult to kind of see like, what is going to happen, where I think they're definitely a contender.
Yeah, for sure.
Now it's, what's going to happen at the end of the season? Because I think you definitely have to put respect for them that they're top 2 right now. So we'll have to see what goes on.
I think another interesting thing that's going on with them is that, at least for the past 2 weeks since the Classic, they've been resting their players kind of. It's a little weird.
Yeah.
But I'm like, they just lost 3-0 to Salt Lake, but when you see that none of the starters are playing, it's like, okay, like, that's a fine loss, I guess. It's weird to see on the record, but it's okay.
Yeah, it is kind of interesting with all the resting that they're doing, but hey, maybe this is kind of the way that you have to play out this League One season, and maybe they'll be able to still come out strong towards the end of the season. Maybe it works out. Maybe this whole strategy, whatever, it works out for them.
Yeah, I mean, if they can keep their top seed, one of the top seeds, it should be fine. Everyone makes the playoffs, so it's fine. It's just interesting to see how they go from here. I mean, if they're saving up the energy of their players, kind of load management style.
Yeah.
I mean, if they have the healthiest roster going into the finals or the most energized roster, maybe this is just big brain strategy.
Yeah. I also like to say that I think that Maddie Rischel and Jess Merzick have been honestly one of the best outside duos in the league, for sure.
I think Jess Merzick was definitely the biggest surprise because realistically, coming right out of college, no one expected her to adapt to the pro level this well. Because, she is one of the top outsides in the league, and it's not to say it feels weird, but it is a little weird that someone coming right out of college is competing with these other international level pro players.
Yeah, and to be honest, I don't think people really thought of her as this tier of player until they went on the run to win the national championship.
Yeah, for sure.
To be honest, everyone was thinking Maddie Skinner, Lexi Rodriguez, and these are like the top players that we're looking at to go towards pro. Obviously, Maddie Skinner already did that, but to see Jess Merzick and how calm, cool, collected she looks, and she looks like she's a vet right now with the way that she plays. I mean, her passing has been solid. Obviously, she has her off nights, but
I think she's actually playing like incredibly energized and like hard effort defense, which is crazy.
Yeah, I think Rischel and Merzick have maybe they're competing for maybe that top defensive duo out there. Like, you have to say Kelsey Cook has been super solid.
Yeah.
So it's kind of tough to say that, but they've been really, really solid for them, for sure.
So, Houston, I mean, they just have a lot of positive things going for them. They may go up and down in the rankings as it seems like they're resting their players, but they're definitely one of the top teams to watch for contention at the end of the season.
Yeah. And one more thing, I think it just helps that you have a middle that has been only getting hotter, and she's been just gaining more and more momentum. Ember Igidi has been looking much better and better every time that she's stepping on the court. I think that helps this Houston offense and defense just so much more. I think they look so much more solid blocking at the net. And she's been getting a lot of kills for them recently.
Yeah, I think she is now up there in the conversation for like best middle blocker of the season for this League One league. Like, she's been that good, and this is a league that has Chiaka Ogbagu, considered one of the top middle blockers in the world right now in the league, and she's up there in contention. So that just proves how good Amber Igidi has been.
Yeah, Houston's looking real hot right now.
Yep. So definitely one to keep looking out for, and we're kind of going to see how they keep evolving as the league goes on. Everyone is fixing things, moving around, and Houston's still looking great.
Yeah.
All right. The third storyline for League One volleyball is kind of that Omaha's slipping. It's really weird to see because they for sure are the team that everyone came into this league and was like, Omaha, they are the Nebraska reunion team. They look good. They will be one of the top 2 teams, if not top 1. And as the weeks have been going by recently, they're looking worse and worse.
It's been odd because actually that whole idea that they're going to be top 2 was working until the Classic.
Yeah.
Going into the Classic, they were top 2 seeds, so they got the bye. But ever since the Classic, it hasn't been looking very good for them. I think they've just been looking a little slow recently. Yeah. And again, we kind of been mentioning it out this whole season, but their offense has been something that's been struggling. And you can see that with all these games that they're struggling to put the ball on the floor. And their defense has been able to hold up, obviously, but can they actually score offensively? I think it's been a big struggle for them.
Yeah, it's super weird. I mean, obviously, you think that it feels like on paper that they have a great offense too, but when looking at what's happening, game by game, the offense doesn't look great.
No, it doesn't.
And I still don't fully understand why.
Yeah, it's just it looks like you can tell that they want to set Drevniak as many balls as they can.
Yeah.
And they even made a lineup change where they put Maddie Kubik-Banks in over Jaylee Winters. And she's had her moments here and there
for sure,
where she's definitely been looking pretty good, but it's definitely tough to see that, you're relying on your right side to carry. But, to be honest, I don't know if she's on the tier of the top right sides in the league.
I think she is up there, but it's just something else with the rest of the offense. It's weird to see because you feel like Kubik-Banks gets kills. Obviously, Jordan Larson gets kills from time to time. Maybe not as strong as she once was, but it feels like she's still getting kills sometimes. Emily Thader, I mean, I think she's also looked great. She looks like one of the top middles in the league. So it's like, listing all these names out, it sounds like they should have a really great offense.
Yeah.
They just don't.
Yeah, it's tough. I feel like Drevniak has been the only constant that she's been able to play well for pretty much all of their games.
Yeah, and they're relying on it.
Yeah, and now it's just, can you have other people chip in to make the offense at least passable while your defense can still carry your games?
I think you can see that Drevniak's usage is getting so high that you can kind of see her getting winded during matches, and it's like she's a young player, and to get her winded, I don't think it's a conditioning issue at all. I think it's a usage where it's every game they're playing back-to-backs. They need her to be taking at least bare minimum 30 swings.
Yeah.
Even if it's a 3-set match, 30 swings at least. So it's just so much reliance on her.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I don't know. We've talked about it for other teams where you really want that dominant right side presence. I think she has it in her, but it almost feels like the help isn't coming from any of the other offensive positions.
Yeah. And I'll take that back. I didn't mean to say that she's not a great right side. She definitely is. I think it kind of hurts because she's not as physical as some of these other right sides where you have Jordan Thompson, you have Annie Schumacher, where their reach is insanely high, and they hit the ball so hard. And obviously they've been doing it for so long because they've been playing in the Olympics. But, can you help your right side in ways where she doesn't have to be carrying such a heavy load, where it just makes it where she can be more efficient? Your offense is just that much more difficult to defend.
I guess at some point you have to start questioning that if the passing's good, it feels like they have very capable hitters. You kind of have to start questioning, is it coming from the setting portion of the team? Because I think that they do have good setters, but sometimes I don't know if there's some sort of misconnection, but it could also be Jordan Larson gets tired a lot. She doesn't want a full swing on every ball, but she's tipping a lot. Drevniak definitely has some misconnections where she has to set the ball over, tip. And I think it happens a little bit more often than other teams where there's some sort of weird connection going on from setter to hitter. It's obvious. I don't think it's causing too many missed points. The ball's not missing them so bad that it dies, but it's like they're not getting good offensive runs. And I'm sure if they had obviously if they had even stronger attacking hitters, those other hitters would be able to do something with the ball. But with the personnel you have, maybe it's a little bit on the setting, but you can't really make too many changes roster-wise. They're using both setters.
Yeah. And I think giving Coach Fritz some credit here. She has been trying out both setters.
Yeah.
Even when you have Gabby Blossom, you probably don't want her in the front row to block.
Yeah.
But she's been trying it just because she's trying to figure out ways to get good hitter-setter connections, and it's still been a little shaky. So
yeah, and obviously I don't want to put it fully on the setters because I think that it's a two-way street.
For sure.
It has to be something between the hitter and the setter together. So I don't exactly know. They are like usable balls most of the time. So
yeah,
sometimes the hitters do have to do something with it.
Yeah, now to me it's just the question, is Omaha going to be able to level up in the second half of the season? Just because, Houston's not going anywhere. Atlanta has still been solid throughout the whole season. Now it's just, can Omaha still hold on? Can they still improve throughout the season here?
Yeah, I mean, first things first, they're going to have to try and break this 5-game loss streak because it includes the Classic, and it's just not looking great for them. 5 losses in the season's not that long. 5 losses, it's a lot.
Yeah, and I think, you have to question, is Austin going to be able to catch up? Because at this point, with the loss streak that they're on, Austin is starting to look pretty decent. They had their moments for sure. So now it's just, can Omaha still find a way?
Yeah, I think especially it feels like every other team in the league is kind of like improving as the season goes on. Things are getting better and better for them. And Omaha's the only one where it feels like they're kind of regressing.
Yeah, I don't even know if it's regressing.
Yeah.
I just feel like, other teams are leveling up and they've kind of just been where they're at.
Yeah.
Since the beginning of the season. Obviously, they've gotten a little bit better here and there, and like chemistry for sure. But all these other teams, I feel like you see there's a lot of bright spots as they're going into the second half of the season. And Omaha, it's hard to find them.
Yeah, I think pretty much this just means that Omaha is one of the teams to look at, but not for the best reasons because they're meant to be one of the top teams, and they're not looking like it right now. So can they put it together?
Yeah, we'll have to see going forward.
Yeah. So we can just move on to the other teams now. I think we've talked a lot about them. Austin, I think I just wanted to talk about them a little bit. Obviously, they had a coaching change, so it's affected them a little bit. They've had a little, I wouldn't say slip-ups, but the past 2 weeks since the Classic haven't looked the best. But I think that has to do with, coaching change. I don't know exactly what went on. I don't think anyone knows. It's personal reasons that they had to change coaches. But it sucks to see because they were just playing so well, headed up to right before the coaching change. So they're another team to keep your eye on. They have to adapt to a new coach, and will that coaching change be more positive? Could it be a negative? So it's an interesting, we don't know what's going to happen, but it's that type of storyline.
Yeah, I think usually you wouldn't think that they're professionals, that maybe the coach shouldn't matter that much. But when you think about it, there's offensive systems, there's defensive systems, there's a lot of things that the coach is putting in place where when you have a coaching change, you're not really sure what you're supposed to expect as a player. And I think you also have to build that whole relationship between the coaches and the players all over again, kind of, just because you have a completely different coach. They're not going to coach the same way. And now can you figure out a way to, still make it mesh together and pull out some wins?
Yeah, and it's obviously even weirder when I think League One especially has a lot more fluid lineups. So there have been a lot of lineup changes. I think for Austin especially, they're doing the libero thing where I think now it feels like the 3rd or 4th time where they're switching, this is going to be our main libero, and it really feels like they're sticking to her. It started off as Inoue and Jarvis switching off back and forth, and now we're switching them again. So
yeah,
super interesting to see. I felt like both of them were playing really well, so obviously it's a hard decision. But another thing to keep your mind on.
It's going to be tough because there's going to be a lot of decisions to be made. I feel like, not only do you have to look at the libero position, but also what are you going to do about maybe the outsides depending on what happens? And, sometimes they mess around with the setters too. I think there's just a lot of decisions to be made.
Yeah, I think the setters is especially important. I think this past game, I don't know if it was on the setters, if it was on Carly Lloyd, or if it's something that the coach was trying to run that changed a little differently, but they had some full-on missed connections. Like, there was something where Asia O'Neal was running for like almost like a back one or a really fast backslide type thing, and then Carly Lloyd pushed it all the way to the pin, and it just went straight over her, lost the point on a full missed connection. So those types of things, I'm like, oh, is this a coaching thing?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think there's just things that you have to think about for the coach when they come in. They want to have their imprint on the team, and they want to put in an offensive system, and then they have to communicate to the setter about that. Your hitters and setters have to get on the same page. I think there's just been a little bit of, miscommunication there. They're still trying to iron out those kinks, so we'll have to see going forward if they're, going to be able to do that.
Yeah, so their contention status is another basically wild card. So.
Yeah, it's a big question mark.
Yeah,
we really don't know what Austin's going to look like at the end of the season.
So just another interesting storyline to talk about. I don't think we have Atlanta, we have Salt Lake. I think both of those teams are a little bit more secured in their positions. Nothing too crazy going on with them. So yeah, I think it's time to move on to the NCAA men's. So now it's time to talk about the NCAA men's storylines. I think there's a lot of interesting things going on. So the NCAA season's finally entering conference play, and these 3 storylines will shape the road to the national championship. I think we're going to talk about it first. Obviously, the number 1 seed, Long Beach, still undefeated, and they have played some of the top teams.
Yeah, I think Long Beach has just looked, I don't know if I would say head and toe over everyone else, but they've been looking unstoppable so far. I think as a team as well, you can't even just put it on Moni Nikolov. I think libero play has been awesome. Obviously, the outsides have been really good. And the middle play has been really solid for them too. I think they've just been a really tough team to play against.
Yeah, I think they just look like a top team, obviously elevated more by Moni being a little bit more of a creative setter, probably the most offensive setter. So it's giving a lot more or a lot tougher of a game plan for other teams to kind of match up with. So it's super interesting to see how this will progress for them. And the biggest question is, do we think that they will have a more perfect season? Will they remain undefeated?
Oh, man. If I was a betting man, I would definitely not put it on that. But, yeah. I mean, if there's a team to do it, honestly, I could see it being this team.
I mean, it's been a while since, we don't really get perfect seasons like this anymore.
No, definitely not.
It's super interesting to watch. Personally, I think that barring a second half of the season downgrade, Moni Nikolov is pretty much having a National Player of the Year season. And I don't think, obviously people say oh, people glaze Moni Nikolov too much, but I don't think you can argue too much that he's the most impactful player in NCAA right now.
Yeah. I feel that, how do I put this? I think people at this point have kind of overrated him to the point where now it feels like they're more so going to be haters on Nikolov. But I think the voters, I hope they get this right. But I think he has to be honest here. I would also give it to Moni Nikolov as, National Player of the Year at this point.
And I mean, especially for them so far, I don't think you can underrate the season that they've had and say, oh, pre-conference play, they've had weaker matchups because they've beaten good teams. They've beaten CSUN, they beat them 3-0. They played GCU, they beat them 3-0. They beat UCLA twice, 3-0, 3-1. They looked dominant. They beat Pepperdine, closer, a little bit, 3-2. That was early in the season. It's fine. And then they beat Lewis, number 14 seed, 3-1. So they're beating a lot of these top 20 teams, and they're beating them pretty dominantly for the most part. So obviously we have to see them play Hawaii, and we want to see them play UCI, but it's going to be tough to not pick Long Beach as the number 1 team.
For sure. Yeah, I think that Long Beach is probably just going to be locked at number 1 for a while, unless they lose. I mean, again, I don't want to overrate them either. I think that they've had some close sets here and there, but they've been looking really solid.
Yeah.
Really solid. I think UCLA and Hawaii are probably the two teams that I would say could give them a run for their money. And again, we kind of talked about this last week. Like, the AVCA poll sometimes is just crazy.
Yeah.
So they might not be number one ranked, but as long as they're undefeated, I think they'll still keep that up.
I think the matches pretty much to look out for, the matches that they could possibly lose, are pretty much down to UCI and Hawaii.
Yeah.
And honestly, I wouldn't, not to, obviously UCI has amazing players, but I think if there was a team to beat Long Beach right now, my money would be on Hawaii.
That's not bad. That's not bad. I don't hate that either, honestly. I think UCI will be a good game.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if the matchup is going to work out very well for them.
So it's super, super interesting. So watch out for Long Beach. Number one team, and it looks like they're going to stay that way.
Yeah.
The second team to look out for is Hawaii. I think that's our second storyline because, including myself, I think I've underrated them a lot. I think I've had them at that number 3, number 4 type range, obviously as one of the top true contenders. But watching them play, especially just beating UCI this past week, I think they look insanely good, and I think they are deserving of the number 2 and will be fighting for that number 1 whenever they eventually play Long Beach.
Yeah, I think that really will be that's going to be a super fun game to watch. Yeah. I think after Hawaii beat UCI, I think that really has cemented them as a true contender. Yeah. And like really a team that you don't want to mess with.
Yeah,
for sure.
I honestly, I think it's super interesting that this past ACVA poll, they were ranked 3 instead of 2. I think that the way that they beat UCI looked a little bit more impressive than UCLA beating UCI like previously, like a couple weeks ago. So I think that obviously they haven't played each other yet, so there's no reason to fully change the rankings, but I think that the way Hawaii looks right now, like I think they should be number 2, and I think they have the chance to get that number 1 when they play Long Beach.
Yeah. I think against UCLA will be a huge game for them. I think that will be one way for also just maybe the rest of the country and people to actually recognize Hawaii as a team that is really up there, because I feel like most people think that it's just UCLA or Long Beach at this point.
I think it might be something to do with the fan base for Hawaii being a little bit smaller, obviously being more the Hawaii locals being the true Hawaii supporters. Meanwhile, Long Beach obviously has Moni, so they got a lot more hype. UCI has Hilir Heno, a lot more hype because he's the National Player of the Year.
Yeah, you got
people want to watch him.
You got a whole country that's rooting for him too.
Yeah, and he was, I mean, Hawaii has their French players, but Hilir Heno was one of their national team roster like players. Obviously not playing like that with the French team being their golden age team.
Yeah.
But he's there on the national team level, so he definitely has a lot more support going for him. And UCLA, one of the biggest colleges in the nation in sports in general, so obviously they'll have a big fan base.
Yeah, you're gonna get some bias there.
Yeah, and they're the reigning 2-time champions. So
yeah. I mean, you have to give it to them for that too.
But I think that has just kind of led to Hawaii being kind of lost in the mix when, in reality, they are a top tier contender.
Yeah, for sure. I think Hawaii is just looking real good, and we gotta put some respect on their name.
Yeah. Also, like Tread Rosenthal is like 6'10", 6'11", so we gotta lock in and remember that, because that's a big man.
He's really good too.
Yeah,
people don't get it wrong just because he's huge and he's super tall that he can get away with it, but he's a really good setter.
Yeah, I think in terms of being a top offensive setter, I think he's just second to Nikolov. Obviously, Nikolov being a lot more aggressive, but Tread Rosenthal has been pretty aggressive too, and I think just seeing him when he does his standing turn dump, being so tall, I'm like, oh, you can't see it coming.
Yeah.
What are you supposed to do?
Yeah, I mean,
and he swings sometimes too.
Yeah, he's legit just dunking the ball too.
Yeah, it's crazy. that is something dangerous, and I think maybe that's kind of how the men's, especially the NCAA men's game is evolving. It's where when you have an aggressive setter like that, you're seeing with Long Beach especially, they're the most difficult team to game plan against. And I think that's what's keeping Long Beach on top. I think that's why Hawaii deserves number 2. I think it's just super hard to game plan versus a setter who can dump the ball on you, back row attack the ball on you at any time.
Yeah.
So I think Hawaii is the team to look out for. I think they're going to take the number 2 spot, and I think when they play Long Beach, that will be must watch.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
So let's move on to our next one. Our third storyline to follow, obviously one of the top teams, back-to-back championships, it's UCLA. So, I mean, people are coming into this season thinking this is UCLA's time for a three-peat. I mean, people had them coming into the season ranked 1, ranked 2 with Long Beach, obviously. And right now, I think they're slipping a little bit, which is something to also watch out for.
Yeah, we'll have to see how it goes, how it's going moving forward. But I think you still have to say you got to put some respect for UCLA that you can kind of expect them to rise when it comes to the tournament.
Yeah.
I think that they're going to come out there, they're not going to mess around, and they're going to start heating up towards the end of the season.
Honestly, I think that may have been part of the reason why they've had some losses or looked a little shakier in their matches. Is like sometimes they look a little bit less like locked in to say something like that. Especially like a little bit on the outside. It's like if they're not super locked in, the passing may slip up a little bit. They'll make a couple more errors than usual, and they won't be as fired up. But I think it just makes it harder for us to judge as viewers. Like, how will they truly match the competition when it comes to the tournament? Because we're not particularly seeing it in their most difficult matches, like here. Besides, obviously, they beat UCI, and UCI is its own story right now. I think they're just looking beatable by these top teams.
Yeah, I think it's interesting though that when you talk about, are they actually serious right now?
Yeah.
But when you saw them lose to Long Beach. The next game when they played UCI, they were on top of things.
Yeah, someone was yelling at them. Maybe they saw social media. Their coach just dug into them.
Yeah.
But oh my God, they locked in.
And I think something that can put them over the top is their middle play. I think their middle play, if it's consistent and they get to run the middle and they run it aggressively, I think their middle play might be able to compete against a Long Beach or Hawaii just to keep it on edge, because you have great outsides. Now it's just, are we still going to be able to keep them honest and still run the middle? Because their middles, when they run them well, they are hyper efficient, right? And they are really difficult to stop. Now it's, can UCLA take advantage of that?
Yeah, so UCLA is definitely a team to keep watching out for. I mean, we're going to see them probably have some more ups and downs this season, but their matches are going to be intense every single time, and it's time for us to really see, like, will they repeat? Will they get the three-peat? I mean, it'd be crazy if it happens.
Yeah, that'd be insane. I just think that every team right now is gunning for them, and now it's, can UCLA hold on, and can they step up to it?
Yeah, so that's definitely one of the most important storylines to look out for, UCLA. And we can move on, just kind of talk about some of the other teams in NCAA, what kind of stories they have going for them. Obviously, we can start off UCI, pretty much the 4th seed right now. And after they've lost to UCLA, they've lost to Hawaii. It's tough to keep them up there with those top teams now because they lost.
Yeah, they've been slipping a little bit, and kind of what you were saying, they do look more beatable than these other 3 teams right now. And we'll have to see how that's going to go, because you don't want to rule out Hillier Henno. I think,
of course,
he's for sure going to be one of those players that when you put him in a game where it truly matters and you got to win, he's going to try his damn best to try and get that.
Yeah. I mean, I think you can also just chalk it up to a little bit of UCI still trying to figure out a little bit of things with their roster. I mean, they moved, what's his name? Flexen?
Yeah, Nolan Flexen.
They moved Nolan Flexen, I forgot his first name for a second. They moved Nolan Flexen to the outside just like this past weekend, and it was an interesting move. I don't know if it exactly worked for them, but you can see that there's still some changes cooking for them. So maybe we can't write them off too early.
Yeah, I think they're still in the mix, but again, if we put them into tiers of contention, I think they might be like that half step right below UCLA, Long Beach, and Hawaii at this point.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they patch up the rest of the season when they've had these big losses, but maybe because they had these losses, they have a lot more to learn from. So
yeah,
could also be great for them. Now kind of just moving on to the rest of the teams, we kind of just have to see who's going to make the tournament. So it'll be an interesting fight. I think the top 4 is pretty much locked in. Yeah. And then everything from there is a little bit more mobile. So we're seeing a lot of movement in the lineups. C-Sun there, McKendry just making an appearance. Loyola Chicago.
Hey, McKendry is looking like one of those teams that they could just randomly upset a team that is heavily favored.
Yeah.
And they're kind of like, they're the Honey Badgers. They're going to be so annoying to play against. You really got to put them away or else you don't know what's going to happen. You might end up losing.
Yeah, so I think keeping our minds on that, it'll be super like this is just the fight for the final seeding for the the national tournament at the end of the season is going to be super interesting to watch. I think it's going to keep changing week to week. So just that race is something to really keep your eye on.
Yeah, and I think it's good just to keep an eye on the Big Ten teams, the Midwest teams, and it's not just all about the West Coast teams because I think the West Coast teams obviously are being carried by those top 4, but now you just want to see, and we have to keep our eyes open to what these other teams might be able to do. Now, I don't know if they're gonna be able to compete for the championship, but you never know. You never really know what's gonna happen in the tournament here.
Yeah, so. we're seeing so many teams that can move around. I mean, I'm not sure if any of these teams fighting for, I think it's the last 4 spots. I think the national championship is 8 teams. I think these last 4 spots, I'm not sure if any of them can beat the top 4 seeds, but they will be very good games as well.
Yeah, so. It'll be fun to watch for sure.
Yeah, and these teams will be clawing for every single victory they have because in these bottom four national championship spots, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 5, 6, 7, 8 in the country, it'll be a tough fight. So that's pretty cool for NCAA, and I think that kind of covers all of our storylines for each of the 3 major leagues. So we can move on. All right, welcome to the Rally Round, where we play our games, drafts, and blind rankings. First, we're going to start off with a draft this week, as we normally do. And this week, we're going to be drafting defensive teams. So we're going to be basing it off of their serve, receive, digs, blocking abilities for these teams from League One volleyball. So let's draft the best defensive teams we can using at least one player from each League One team.
You had the first pick last time.
Yes, so you are the first.
Because you took Moni.
Yes.
So now this is my time to shine right here. I think she is hands down the best defender at her position. I have to take Carlini.
She definitely is. I had a hard time picking other players for that position because Lauren Carlini is that good.
She's the best setter defender. By far.
Yeah.
I mean, I think she's second in digs overall.
Yeah.
And that's positionless.
Yeah, that's gonna be tough for me. That's a tough loss.
Let's go.
Okay. That brings me to my 2 picks, and I think I'm just gonna get the outside hitter position out of the way for myself. I'm gonna pick Kelsey Cook, obviously.
Damn.
Because one of the best defenders in the league.
For sure.
And I'm going to take Jordan Larson. I mean, this is a defensive draft. So when we're talking about defense, I think these are the top 2 defensive outside hitters.
Damn. So you took your outsides from Atlanta and Omaha.
Oh, God.
This is where I got to think about this.
Yeah. A lot more strategy going into this.
This is how I can make this difficult for you, too.
Yep.
I can make this real hard. Man. I think I have to do it. This is a no-brainer, honestly, to me. I gotta take Chaka Obogu from Austin.
Yeah.
Best blocker, hands down.
Damn it.
Now, how can I make this even more difficult for you?
Oh, wow. Looking at my board, I think I messed it up.
All right.
Uh-oh. That didn't work. I'm gonna look up some players.
Ooh, he's cooked. He is cooked. All right. I just want to make sure that I figure out this right with the players that I have left here.
Are we cooked, chat?
All right. You know what? I'm going to do this because I think I'm going to be able to make this work on the back end here. Wait, hold on.
This may be our most strategy-filled draft to
I know. You know what? I think she's been the second best libero. I'm going to take Pianit Pinoy.
date. All right. That works for me. I didn't want to repeat Atlanta anyways.
I know. But I had to take her.
Yeah. Okay. So you've taken Pinoy, libero, one of the best liberos, obviously. I'm going to take... I think that she's elevated herself to be one of the best middle blockers in the league, including blocking and even back row defense a little bit. I'm going to take Amber Igidi.
Damn. She was who I was thinking about.
Yep. I was a little bit afraid that you were about to take her with that next pick, I would have been truly screwed over. I was like, oh, I'm cooked.
I was thinking about it.
Okay. So I have one middle. I think, obviously, I just took one of the middles from Houston, so I think it's time for me to move on to Madison, where you have already taken your Madison pick, but I'm going to take her on the right side. I'm taking Annie Drew Schumacher. I think she plays really great defense, and I think something that's a little different from her and other right sides is that she's super aggressive to play defense on the ball. Like, she will take some of the defensive balls like on purpose that maybe sometimes other players could get to, but she wants to be aggressive with it. She has very good passing ability. So I'm going to take Annie Drew Schumacher.
I'm not going to trash that pick because that's my favorite team, but you know, that's fine. That's all right.
Oh, my brain is in like overdrive right now. I'm so confused.
You know, this is going off of the potential, and when she's healthy, she's been struggling at least a little bit health-wise at the beginning of the season. But I'm going to take Haley Washington.
That's a fair pick.
Still one of the best middles.
For sure.
And she's definitely one of the pretty good blocking middles out there.
Yeah.
It's just her numbers don't stack up just because of the games played.
Yeah.
And it makes it harder for you.
No, I'm chilling. I didn't need her anyways.
Okay, sure.
All good.
I think I'm going to have to take her just because of how great she's been. I will take Jess Merzick.
Yes, I had her on my list as well. One of the best defenders.
One of the best defenders. She's definitely willing to always lay out on the floor and make the hustle plays. And she's honestly one of the best blocking outsides.
Yeah, I do think you did get probably one of the best blocking outsides possible right now.
Very surprising, though, that she's up there in those numbers for sure.
Now I'm going to pick my setter, and I'm going to use my Salt Lake pick also. I'm going to take Jordan Poulter. I think she's probably one of the best blocking setters that you can take, and she's nothing to sneeze at when on the defensive digging end as well. So I think she's very good.
I think she was top 2.
Yeah.
For that position on defense.
Yeah. So
I think purely because of the blocking. I think the blocking was honestly one of the reasons that she was a starter for the Olympics.
Yeah.
So because of how good she is at blocking. So definitely can't mess with that.
I think she is the best blocking setter in this league off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Okay, no. I think I have this right. So for my final middle blocker, I'm gonna take her from Austin. This is my favorite team, so maybe I'm overrating a little bit too much, but I'm gonna pick Molly McCage. I think she had her show out game the other week where she was blocking a million balls, and I think between her and Asia O'Neal, who switch off taking the court, I think she's the defensive-minded middle that you put in. So I'm happy with Molly McCage as my other middle blocker.
Yeah, I think you have to give her just that little boost because of the game that
game. She was a monster that game. Yeah. I don't know what happened. I was like, oh, maybe I've been underrating you the whole season.
Yeah. She was definitely a huge step in there.
Yeah.
Maybe the viewers, or you can tell me, She did do it for half the season. Can I take Lauren Sivrins on the right side?
Boo, boo.
Can I take her on the right side?
Right now, when we're filming this video, she is a middle.
She played half the season on the right side.
She's middle right now.
She was playing half the season on the right side.
You can pick her, but you guys let us know.
Okay, I'm going to take her. Purely for the blocking, because obviously if she's playing back row, it's not going to be good. Let's be honest, because she's a middle.
Yeah.
She did play middle in college, so,
yeah.
you know, defensively it's not really going to be there.
Yeah.
But I'm giving it for the blocking that I'm going to make her my right side. You know, I want the extra defense, given that my blocking is going to be so good, but I want the extra punch on defense. I'm going to take Maddie Rischel, so I'm going to take both of the outsides for Houston here.
Running the double Houston outside defensive combo.
They've been killing it as
they're good
as a defensive duo right there for the outsides. I think they've been the best. You just put Kelsey Cook as the best singular defender.
Yeah.
And then Jordan Larson maybe
also up there as a singular defender.
But the two right there
as a combo, they're elite.
They've been very good.
Yeah. And that leaves you with my final pick. I get to pick from the liberos. A lot of people to choose from. I think you guys can let me know if I'm right with my last pick. Honestly, I'm going to share my thoughts. I'm picking between Justine Wong-Orantes and then Kojima from Salt Lake. So both very elite defenders, but for my libero, I'm going to take Justine Wong-Orantes. I think she's definitely one of the best liberos in the world.
For sure.
And even though Omaha might not be looking great, I think her defense is one of the bright spots that they still have.
Yeah, I think it's been just a slight step down from usual, but I think that's more from the team.
Yeah, that's a team thing. I don't know if it's an individual, just her thing. So
so I definitely respect her because, I mean, clearly she's just one of the best liberos.
Yeah. So honestly, that draft didn't go as bad as I thought it would.
It was pretty fun. I think we both love defense. So this is really fun to watch. It's super fun to watch defenders, and this is a really fun draft.
I think this was a lot more of like a chess match between us. A little bit.
Yeah. This one was hard.
Yeah, this is fun. Okay, so we can just recap our teams now. You took first pick, so you can read off first.
All right. For my setter, I got Carlini. She's digging everything, and obviously she's gonna set perfect balls. Then for my middles, I have the best blocker in the league, Chiako Bogu. And I have the other national team middle in Haley Washington. Then for my back row, I got Pinoy as the libero. Definitely been one of the best liberos this season. And for my right side, I took Lauren Sivrins. You can tell me if that's good or not. Definitely I took her for the blocking. But then for my outsides, I took both from Houston, Jess Merzick and Maddie Rischel.
Pretty good team. This is going to be a defensive slugfest between our two teams.
Yeah. I don't know if the ball is ever going to drop.
Yeah. So for my team, at setter, I took Jordan Poulter from Salt Lake. My outsides, I took Kelsey Cook from Atlanta and Jordan Larson from Omaha. Two national team outside defenders. My middles, I took Amber Igidi from Houston, rising star in this league. And then I took Molly McCage, who makes her name known for blocking.
Yeah.
My right side, I took Annie Drews from Madison. And my libero is Justine Wong-Orantes, one of the best liberos in the world. So you guys let us know who won. And also let us know if Lauren Sivrins can be counted as a right side.
Hey, man. She played half the season for League One as a right side, all right?
But she switched to middle right now. You guys let us know. And that's it for our draft. So it's time to move on to one of our favorite segments. Let's do Guess the Player. So can you guess my mystery player with hints that gradually get easier? The first hint for my player is that their stats this season are 215 kills, 22 blocks, and 38 aces.
This is going to be outside for sure. Is it outside or maybe a right side, actually?
Yeah, it's a lot of kills.
Yeah. I'll throw it out. I'll say Jordan Thompson.
It is not Jordan Thompson. Damn. This next hint is probably a lot easier for you guys who keep up with international, but The next hint is that his jersey is hung in the rafters by Zenit Kazan, the club team.
Oh, God, I don't know that. Oh, man.
I won't even tell you where that's from. If you know, you know.
I don't know. Oh, my God. I am not locked into international like that. Aces, though?
Good amount of aces.
Is this my man TJ? TJ DeFalco?
It is not TJ DeFalco. So the next hint is that he won Best Outside Hitter in Champions League from the 2023-2024 season.
Oh, God.
So you have to be tapped into specifically Champions League, which is a little difficult.
I'm not. Oh, man. Oh, man. Is it Yuki Ishikawa?
It is not Yuki
Oh, my
Ishikawa.
God. Ah, Jesus.
The next hint is that this player has played in Italy, Russia, Turkey, Korea, and China. So very, very worldly traveled.
What? Oh, my God. I'm just going to have to start throwing out international player names.
Yeah, just toss out names.
Is it Irvin Ingapeth?
It is not Irvin Ingapeth.
Oh, my God. I'm getting cooked. I'm getting cooked.
It's okay. Once we get closer to the end, you'll realize. You'll be able to tell. So the next hint is that he's currently on Turkey's #1 team, Ziraat Bankasi.
That doesn't help me. Oh,
Ziraat
my
Bankasi.
God. Oh my God, this doesn't help me. I don't know who plays in Turkey right now. Is this Tomas Fornal?
It is not Tomas Fornal.
Oh my God.
Okay, now we're starting to move into hints that'll really give it away. Your sixth hint is that he's a 4-time Olympian. So he's played in 4 Olympic Games.
Damn, he old.
That's the hint.
Wait. We never got the position down, though, actually. Oh, man.
The only positional related thing you've gotten is that he won Best Outside Hitter in Champions League 23-24.
Oh, my God. Wait. Is this Matt Anderson?
This is Matt Anderson.
Oh, my God. I should have known that. Oh, my God. I completely forgot. But that was like the huge storyline was that he was playing outside.
Yeah, that is an outside in anything that's not the U.S.
I know. Jeez. Yeah, I should have known that. I definitely should have had that.
And that takes us to the next hint, where in the U.S., he's best known as a right side / opposite.
Well, all right. Well,
You would have got it there.
At least I got it before that.
Yeah, you would have got it there.
Damn. I didn't even use the other hints. I pretty much used that one hint and that was it.
Yeah.
It just took me forever to get it.
Yeah. So now we're getting more and more obvious. The eighth hint is that he was the 2008 co-ACVA National Player of the Year at Penn State.
Yeah. I mean, I would have gotten that.
A lot easier to know now.
Yeah, I would have gotten that. Damn.
Your ninth hint is that his hometown is West Seneca in New York. We don't have a lot of New York players, so
Yep.
very slim pickings.
Yep.
And the final hint is that he's Team USA's main right side / opposite. How much more obvious can we get?
Oh my God. What hint was that? The Champions League one, the outside.
Oh yeah, that was the third hint.
Oh my God. Yeah, I should have gotten that at 3.
Yeah, the Champions League hint was a little bit to throw you off the scent of Matt Anderson because we know him as a right side.
Nah, I should have gotten that one. Let's see if you guys got that one. Man.
Yeah. How fast were you guys able to get it? And that'll take us to our final game of the day. We're moving on to our blind ranking.
So our blind ranking for this time is going to be kind of a follow-up. It's like a part 2 to our NCAA men's draft that we did last week. And a lot of the comments that we saw, we were looking at a lot of the other outsides that we missed out on. So that's what this draft is going to be, or what this blind ranking is going to be about. Blind rank these NCAA outsides that we left out undrafted in our draft battle.
Let's go.
All right, first, we got Louis Sakanoko.
Ooh, he's very good. I mean, it was tough to leave him out. he's looked a lot better this season than last, so we got to... It's tough. He looked pretty good against UCI. Shoot.
Hawaii's looking real good right now.
Yeah, Hawaii's really good. We still have some very good players, so I'm just going to set the tone and put him at 3.
Okay. Keeping your options open here.
Yeah. I want to be a little flexible.
All right. A lot of you guys were probably thinking about how he wasn't on there, but next we got Zach Rama.
Zach Rama, I think, another really, really good outside. It's tough. I mean, shoot. Yeah, UCLA is really good. He is also really good. I think we're getting a lot of... We do have a lot of second option outsides here, which makes this tougher. But I think he could be a little bit he's a little bit more of one of the reasons why UCLA can be a little bit inconsistent. So I'm going to put Zach Rama at 4.
That's fair. I feel like, sometimes it's the passing and offensive inconsistencies.
I think I may have not wanted to put Sakanoko at 3. That's an oopsies.
All right.
My bad.
All right, what we got next is we got Dylan Klein.
Dylan Klein, I think that was one that we got a lot of where we were like sleeping on him. And I agree. I'm going to let you guys know. I had him on my board last week. He was acknowledged. I could have picked him. I wanted to. If things came out a little differently, I would have picked him. So just letting you guys know that. And I'm going to put Dylan Klein at 1.
Okay.
So
okay.
I'm just letting you guys know. I know.
Respecting that.
I'm giving him his respect. He is a top outside in the league.
All right, next we have Sotiris Chiapanis.
This is an interesting one where I think people thought that he was going to be stepping up huge for Long Beach this year. But he's played a little bit of second fiddle as an outside to Skylar Varga. So I'm going to put Chiapanis at 5, I think.
Ooh.
Which is a tough pull, but these are the top outsides.
Ooh, damn.
Let me know what you guys think.
Put him 5th. All right, and this is
my number 2.
This is your number 2 spot. Is Keone Tim. Him.
That's a big man. That might have been an oopsies. Keone Tim, number 2 outside that we left undrafted.
Woo.
Book it.
He is hype. Hey. BYU.
That game against Hawaii though, that block.
Hey, he got his highlights in.
Did I get the ranking right? And that brings us to the end of today's episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys had fun. I hope you guys see a lot of storylines that you guys are looking forward to. And let us know if you have any storylines that we missed in the comments. And please like, subscribe, and thank you so much for joining us.
See you next time.